Okay. As usual, something is on my screen, and you see there's a bus, red color bus, very fancy. But the bus route is 53. Now, hopefully, you relate today's topic, which is Route 53, because this bus is going through the Route 53 or Route 53. And I thought that that would be a little significant images, for our today's topic. So today we'll spend a good amount of time for DNS. So Route 53 in AWS is nothing like a DNS service. And also, I have planned a very interesting one more topic today. Today is a single sign-on and Active Directory also. So we'll spend some time today, healthy discussions, and also, we have to complete our course by September end. And because now I have to finish this course because it's getting stretched, but that's okay. But we'll complete. So, any idea what is the DNS? What DNS does? What is the importance of DNS? Any idea, guys?
Is it this service which maps IP to some um,
Yes,
domain? I mean, name.
yes, absolutely. So DNS is a service, the domain name service, the name, is a kind of significance. And you correctly pointed out, Bishwajit, like, it is a mapping like IP to host name or a server name, right? So that people can see google.com, microsoft.com, or any website, any applications that you actually do or browse. This is because of the DNS. Otherwise, you have to remember the IP address of different website. Let's say for access google.com, probably you need to remember like 54.64.3.0 or something like that, or for other applications. So thanks to DNS, so we'll discuss DNS first, and then we'll jump into what is Route 53, because I thought we need to understand how DNS works, okay, as a traditional method. And then what are the things are there in the Route 53? That's something also we'll discuss. So if I just can park the Route 53 at this stage as of now, and let's start with the DNS flow. So the first of all, if you go and look for any website, any applications, let's say if I just go google.com, okay, or maybe let's say I just type even the Microsoft or Amazon, whatever, okay, or Oracle. So if I just click on that, what you can see, like there are um, couple of things, right? One is www, then there's a dot, then there's a Microsoft, then another dot, there's a com, right? That is the main domain name that Microsoft does have. So the .com, or rather I should say this dot or .com, it is the root domain. Okay, in the DNS, that is something called root. .com, .co, .in, .uk, .in. These are all called root. Then this is the Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft now.com, it is the now top level domain, right? And then if you see, this is something called another second level domain. So if you can see any website and application, these are the things there always, right? One is top level domain, which is .com. What is second level domain, which is, let's say, Microsoft, and then lower level domain, which is the www. Okay, and this dot actually is a period between these two identities. Okay, it actually signifies, okay, between these two Microsoft, top level, second level, and lower level. Okay, so that's how it works. But how exactly it works? Let's say if you type Microsoft.com, but on your computer screen, how Microsoft.com page will open, right? Really interesting. So let me discuss a bit here. Let's say this is your computer, and in your computer you have a storage, etc. So you open your Chrome browser or Firefox or Internet Explorer, whatever you use in your web browser. First, you just open and type, let's say, hdfcbank.com. Little different, okay? hdfcbank.com. hdfc.com. See, the moment you type hdfc.com, then your computer, if it is internet connected, it will start finding hdfc.com. Otherwise, it will, at the same time, it also checks that whether you have recently accessed hdfc.com or not from your storage cache. Okay. So the hdfc.com, when you open your browser and type hdfc.com, first your computer will look up your computer storage cache, whether the hdfc.com first time you are accessing or already there. If it's already there, it will be definitely the cache, and it will very faster way, it will populate the page for you from the cache. Okay. If this is the first time, then it will go to your internet service provider DNS. Let's say you are using alliance.com or broadband, whatever. Okay. For me, it's at home office. I have Alliance. Oh, okay. So alliance.com server, ISP level DNS, also it checks, okay, if anybody from these locations, anybody access the hdfc.com or not. So alliance.com DNS, it also checks its own cache. And if it doesn't find, then it will go and talk to the first top level domain, something like that, let's say .com. So it will ask .com server, hey, .com server, do you know hdfc.com? So is hdfc.com is hosted inside you? So .com server, .com, the top level domain server, it says no, I don't have, but I can help you further who may have this hdfc.com. Okay, let's say you type www.hdfc.com. So now it will go to another server. Okay, this .com will take you to another server, and here let's say the hdfc.com, it is hosted. Okay. Now again you type www.hdfc.com for an example. Sorry for that. So hdfc.com says, okay, not exactly www.hdfc.com, it is there, but I can help you to take you to the real locations where the www.hdfc.com. So these two identity can be set in the one server or different server, that is different story. But this happens all of the time, between you and the different server, and that is something called recursive and iterative way of the DNS happen. So it is saying like, okay, I don't host the HDFC, but I can help you. I don't host the HDFC, but I can help you who is hosting the www.hdfc.com. So that is very fast. Okay. And there's a lot of in between routing, networking layers there. I'll not get into that. DNS is a very big topics from the networking perspective. But it happens all the time whenever you search any website, any applications. So this flow works. This flow triggers, right? So now, the first thing, if this is the www.hdfc.com. This is something called authoritative server. Okay, authoritative server means who actually is hosting the www.hdfc.com. But this is the name, right? www.hdfc.com is a name. So this server must have a public IP address. Okay, let's say this is the IP address, and this particular IP address, it is actually mapped to a human readable, or human can remember, right? Because 54634, it could be a trillion or billions different, website people don't remember, but human can remember the name. So that is the mapping between IP and host name of a server. So that's how if you type www.hdfc.com, it actually resolves the IP and the backend process, which is something called a record. Okay, there's a lot of record that we'll discuss today. A record, then there's a MX record, there's a NS server, then 4 times A record, PTR record. So these are the different records work, but very popular is A record, which is actually IP to host name mapping. And that is something also called DNS resolutions process. Okay. So across the world, there are so many DNS server involves and work together. So that's how we can see all of the applications, all of the web browser, web applications, very faster way to load. So now what I'll do, let me click or maybe mention some of the records name. The first is A record. A record is a bit popular. You see, this is a kind of a address record, the full name, which is kind of IP to name. Okay. There's another record which is called 4 times A, which is also same, but it actually works for IP version 6 protocol. The same thing. Then very popular C name, canonical name. So it actually is name to name. Let's say a website name is shop.com. Okay, the actual website, actual site is shop.com, which is, let's say, this one, this server, the shop.com for an example. But this shop.com can be mapped with swiggy.com. So for us, for our customer, we know what is swiggy.com, but Swiggy might call another domain name, which is shop.com, and shop.com is pointing to 54.6.3.4. So that it is a name to name mapping. Okay, and the beauty of that, it is like, if you change the server, okay, so that here in the swiggy.com, you don't need to map or change the shop.com. In a DNS, what happened that you have to change the record, you have to add the record, right? Like in the GoDaddy, if you buy GoDaddy.com, I strongly suggest that you buy GoDaddy.com, very 400 or 500 rupees domain in a year for your practice. Today I'll also show you if possible. So the swiggy.com, if it actually pointing to 54, the real IP, then if you change the server, then server IP will get changed. Thanks to AWS, that you can still remap the same IP. That is a separate story. But in traditional world, the server will have a different IP, and then again it's a downtime. But name to name mapping is sometimes very useful in many cases. Even probably you have remember that when we discussed the application load balancer, remember? So there's a no IP address. Application load balancer, it generates some long name, right? So that is the C name, which you have to point in your GoDaddy or some bluehost.com, whatever the domain you have. Okay. So this is the C name. MX record, it is typically used for the exchange server or mail server. Okay. Email server ke liye that MX records is needed. Then another record is NS NS record. This is MX record, CNAME records. NS record, it is actually the real server, identity. So each and every DNS server, it has got their own sort of record. Without that, your DNS server doesn't exist. That is mean NS means name server. The server itself its own name. Okay. PTR, PTR is pointer record. That means sometime if you type google.com, let's say if I go and type google.com, let's say ping google.com. So this google.com is returning from the IP 216.58.20314, right? That means this is the IP and this is the A record maps. That understandable. So now what you can do, if you just copy that, or hold on, or maybe close this, open another terminal, and ping is IP now. Now you see the IP, if I ping this IP, it is actually again replying, but this is the Google IP. So that is the pointer. That means IP to Google also there. So that's how, if you just go, I don't know whether it is blocked or not. Let me, if I just go to Chrome, you see. So I've just typed the IP address here. I don't know the Google, and if I just hit enter, it points to Google page. That means that is IP to name conversions or name to IP conversions also possible. So these are the main few records are there. Otherwise, there's a TXT record, SPF record, SRV record. These are all different kind of records. But for you, these are the most important records that you should know, at least from the technical perspective, as architect perspective. Make sense so far? How DNS flow, how things works? Okay. So now,
Yeah.
if I go to Google, GoDaddy.com, I shouldn't show you, but let's see, no problem. So let's say GoDaddy.com. This is my personal GoDaddy.com. And let's see if I just go to my DNS. And you'll see the bunch of DNS records that I've entered for different website application that I have. So let's say that is the DNS. That's the domain that I purchased or we purchased. And then here inside that particular, see, these are the all different records, A records. It is pointing to that. Let's say webinar.egen.co.in. So if you just go to webinar.egen.co.in, that's how sometime we use, right? Webinar.egen.co.in. So probably this page opens. How? Because the webinar is a what? The subdomain, okay, or the second level domain. So it is pointing to 184.168.105.127. This is the EC2 instance where my things are running, the webinar web page. Similarly, there's a CNAME. So CNAME is these two, CNAME, as I said, these are 2.1 DNS to another DNS mapping. Let's say that is one. You see ELB, application load balancer, ELB. So API bot, it's actually pointing to ALB because ALB provides you the long name. It is not provide you, it doesn't provide you any A records, okay, any IP. So, but I want API bot. If somebody will try API bot.egen.co.in, let's say, it is okay, no problem. But let me go to another. So maybe if you go to the cloudscape.com, right? Cloudscape. The Cloudscape is a service that we used, but Cloudscape also pointing to our ELB. So if I just type LMS, I'm not sure, there's a lot of, just try to show you LMS. LMS. So LMS, you see there's another CNAME which is actually pointing to CloudFront endpoint. So if I just go to LMS, you see lms.co.in, it is actually pointing to the CNAME of that particular. If I just go to ping lms.egain.co.in, now you see that it is actually returning to CloudFront CDN endpoint. So this is how the resolutions works. Okay. So anyways, in these few hours, it is very difficult to complete every DNS aspects, but now you at least understand how the things works. Again, let's say you bought your domain in GoDaddy. Let's say it's a GoDaddy. And in GoDaddy, some of the test.com, for an example, you purchased. Okay. And you have the EC2 on AWS where the actual test.com website is hosted. It is a domain, it is the actual website. And test.com, this EC2, let's say, this is the elastic IP address or public IP address. So now if your customer or user would like to access test.com, then what happens? So what happened is in the test.com GoDaddy DNS, I have to map a record pointing to this 54.6.3.6, right? That means if anybody will try to access test.com, so GoDaddy will check if there any A record exists, and the moment it sees that, okay, I can see there's a record which is 54.6.3.6, which is actually AWS IP. So immediately the request will further go to this server, and that's how you can build a website. Maybe you bought it from different service provider, GoDaddy or whatever, Bluehost, but actually pointing is happening here, just like I showed you LMS. It can be CNAME, it can be a record. Let's say it's a, you have the load balancer in front of you or CloudFront, whatever. It has got A, B, C, D. Sorry, it has got A, B, C, D, E, F, some long, endpoint. So instead of a record, then you need to add CNAME, and then you have to point to that, and the same way it would come to here in the CDN or ELB, and that's how your web page will come up on your screen. Make sense so far?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now what AWS says, okay, you can go ahead with the GoDaddy, but GoDaddy is our competitor. Or it's a different approach. So you can also purchase the domain from us, from the Route 53. Okay, so nobody stops you. I mean, you still can go ahead with the GoDaddy and point the DNS in such a way like, oh, idhar chala aega, and then all stuff. That's absolutely okay. But you can also purchase the domain test.com from the Route 53. Now, if I'll come to Route 53, this service. But it is very expensive. Okay, I mean, if you buy domain from Route 53, it would be not little. It is a much expensive than any GoDaddy. So better you buy your domain from GoDaddy and then you point to this. Now there's another critical or sophisticated, complex scenario. Now let's say you purchased GoDaddy, some domain from GoDaddy, but you really don't need to point all things here. Okay. In the GoDaddy. Okay, so you can do one thing. Maybe you can purchase from GoDaddy, but the name server, because as I said that a name server is a domain server itself, its name. So right now, if you purchase test.com and if you like to do all this inside GoDaddy, so GoDaddy does have their own name server. Okay. So that's why you have to do all of the records set here inside this GoDaddy. But what if I can point the name server, the GoDaddy name server, and remove the GoDaddy name server and point all of the name server of Route 53 to GoDaddy. So that means what happened that this test.com you just purchased, but ultimately all of the records you are actually creating here, even the CNAME, A records, because GoDaddy में आपको कुछ करना ही नहीं है. So everything can be managed here in the Route 53. So that is another story. Okay. So now it is up to you, because many customers, they don't use the NS server pointing to GoDaddy, or 50% customer also they do the entire thing in the GoDaddy. So that's a mix and match. So what I'm saying, if I go back to Route 53 first, then you understand. So the Route 53 service you see here, and the moment you click, the first thing, there's a registered domain. It is optional. As I said, you can purchase from here or you can purchase from GoDaddy. That's absolutely okay. But if you go to registered domain, from here you can purchase, like let's say I would like to purchase zomato.com, which doesn't exist. I mean, already taken. But if I can find a registered domain, or sorry, Zomato search. So Zomato is definitely not available, but zomatogroup.com, zomatoshop.com, ऐसा करके आप zomato.ninja, so a lot of domain you can buy, and there's a $15 yearly you can purchase, okay, or maybe Zomato, or maybe let's say training.in, it's not available. Somebody already taken. But some of the social data training, these are the things you can purchase. So you can purchase from here, not a problem. So all we need to learn today, which is starting from hosted zone. So if you go and create hosted zone, some of the hosted zone I've already created, and create hosted zone. So there are two types of hosted zone that you should create, or you can create. One is public facing, one is private facing. Again, public facing is the internet, private facing is only internally in Amazon, within Amazon PPC. So with a name like batch 174, okay, dot local. Let's say this is our one of the hosted zone, okay, and inside that, first you can create the hosted zone. And here, what you can do, the first thing you see, there's a NS server. So these 4 NS servers that AWS will create for you the moment you create the domain, this hosted zone. So as I said, that it is up to your customer. They can point the entire NS server to GoDaddy. So let's see if I go to GoDaddy and let me, I don't know, it's the NS server to check. So here is a name server. If you go to name servers, then you see there's a domaincontrol.com. This is the GoDaddy own name server. But as I said that I purchased egan.co.in from here, but I want to manage everything in AWS right now, Route 53. So all you need to change the name server. I'm not going to do that. And I will use my own name server. एंड ऐसा करके मेरे को 4 जो नेम सर्वर्स है यहाँ पर, उसको यहाँ पर डालना पड़ेगा, the name server that I have. The
Yeah.
moment,
So
sorry.
one small question here. What if you add additional, say, for example, I'll use my own name servers. I keep GoDaddy servers, GoDaddy name servers as well as my Amazon name servers.
No, you cannot do that.
Okay.
You cannot do mix and match.
No.
Either you manage, either you use GoDaddy, otherwise you have to use the that one, Amazon.
I mean, what is this construct really? Name server, what exactly is name server?
Name server is a kind of GoDaddy does have their own DNS server, right? If you go to this architecture, so let's say this is the DNS, right? So
Hmm.
GoDaddy does have their own name server. Okay? And if you change that,
Hmm.
then there's a no existence of the GoDaddy. It's a kind of, it is just like a place. So the moment you create any DNS, I don't know whether you have any idea, like, active, the typically the server side, like, domain and DNS. And then every active directory or every kind of, directory structure starts with the DNS, right? Without DNS, even at your home, there's a Wi-Fi router, and Wi-Fi router points to its own DNS. So DNS is kind of where all of this kind of record you manage, like A record, NS record, this MX record. For
Oh,
that, you need to have a name server. उसके अंदर में ये सब करना पड़ता है.
acha.
Okay?
So all my mapping are in that one only.
Yes. Correct. So if you can change all of the AWS Route 53 NS servers, then what happened? That GoDaddy will not do anything. It is just kind of router for us. So anybody will come to egan.co.in immediately pass to the Route 53, this zone, and whatever the records you mention here, then it will take actions. Okay, again. So let's say if you change anything, then anybody will come to test.com. Immediately test.com will pass to Route 53 because now NS servers is now pointing. And now let's say you mentioned, okay, if anybody type to come test.com to, maybe 54.6.3.6, then people can see this website. If somebody will type to support.test.com, it will go to another server. Okay, maybe another server where this is the 64 hosted. So that's how, you have to define the record set inside this zone. So now everything is managed inside the Route 53. Test.com GoDaddy is just pointing back to Route 53. Even अगर आप इधर कुछ wrong entry pass करोगे, तो customer will see the wrong information. If you pass anything good information, right information, the customer will see accordingly. So that is something the record set all about.
There are one more question. Why do we need the GoDaddy in this case then? We don't need, right?
No, you need because you purchased in a lower price, right? Otherwise, you have to purchase from here, from the registered domain. Because let's say you have to save some money, you already purchased only maybe 50, 400 rupees available because maybe that particular domain is not available in AWS Route 53.
Okay,
Because
so
we
we
have
are
to purchase.
buying the domain from GoDaddy, but then we are pointing that to the name server of AWS.
AWS, yes. Yes.
For using the name server, I don't have to pay anything.
You have to pay a little bit,
Oh,
very little bit.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So now this by default, these two record sets already there, NS and SOA, there's another record. But now here, let's say for our example, everything is now managing by Route 53. DNS, GoDaddy is just like a kind of pointer for here. And create record. And now from here, I would like to, let's say, create a HR dot this domain test dot whatever I have created right now, or batch 174.local. So HR is a subdomain, right? And this batch dot 174 local, this is my main domain. And now it depends, it's up to me which end record type I can select. Is a record or CNAME or text record. Let's say this HR dot this batch 174, it is hosted on a server on EC2. So all you need to put the value here, okay? And TTL is time to leave. I mean, it is another thing. I mean, how long the any changes if you made at this 780, this particular server, any web page changes or any functional changes, how faster that particular changes will get replicated across world in all of the DNS server. Because if somebody is connecting from US, okay, and somebody, so I mean, each and every country they have the DNS records. So it's kind of DNS propagations, okay. There's another concept, discussion. The DNS propagations should be there across all of the DNS. So that is something TTL. It's always good that you have to maintain a minimum TTL. If you create a more like one day, then if you make any changes, then different world, their customers, they would not see your recent changes. Okay, so there's a lot of, if you just DNS propagation checker, there's a tool by which you can check that these propagations happen. Let's say egan.co.in. If I just make any changes in egan.co.in websites, and what happened that those changes will be, so that is something who dot is, first of all, that is my DNS information's name. Like this is West Bengal, from where we purchased, and that is the details of that. Maybe let's say if I just search oracle.com, oracle.com, right? If I just search, so this Oracle registered on 1988, okay, and the expires on 2025. Then again they will renew. Name servers, you see oracle.com actually have so many name server, big company. So NS1, Oracle Cloud, NS2, NS name server 3, name server 4, then this one, these are the name. Registered contract, Oracle Corporation's phone number, this fax, email that, mailing address 500 Oracle Parkway, California. Technical support. So this is the detail of any domain. You can search and you can see the details about any domain. So similarly, the DNS propagations checker, it is something, let's say, for our domain, if I can search and across globe, so all of the DNS servers across globe, San Jones and Dallas, all of the Boston, everywhere my changes already there. But some of the servers, probably from those locations, and if they're using some from this ISP, probably they cannot see my website or our website properly, because the cross means our DNS is not getting, or our website is not getting propagated to Mexico. So anyway, so first thing, if you change something, and then probably you can use this DNS propagation checker to check that whether that particular DNS has been propagated across the world or not. Again, this is a system admin task, and system admin, they know, all of the system admin, they know, but this is for little information. So this is the TTL all about. We'll come here little. So first, let me create a records. And my first records has been created, which is that. So if anybody type hr.batch174.local, it goes to the server. It doesn't exist for us. I mean, it's a fictitious, but you understand the concept. That's how you have to keep on adding the records. Now, another record. So let's say this is the payroll or CRM. And this time I need the CNAME. And now you see CNAME, it is not accepting, it will not accept any IP. So I have to put a value or name. So the name would be what? Let's say this is under the load balancer. So if I just go to EC2 and get any load balancer, fictitious, I mean, it's not a real one, but let me what I can do, like I can just copy this load balancer DNS and put it over there and simply create records. So that's how I can point if somebody hr.batch something, these applications, sorry, the CRM, then it will go to my applications load balancer. And then everything. I mean, so far, we have seen that if you just type that, then my application would work. But this is not a real case, right? So this is not a real BG demo. What is BG demo? But ultimately, people like to check like a Microsoft.com or the CRM.com something. If they type, then their application should work. That means their request will first go to this load balancer, and then load balancer will route the traffic to BC2. So the same situations. This is load balancer. Sorry, this is load balancer, and I have got these two servers or five servers or 500 servers. Doesn't matter. So now what I've done. So let's say the CRM application is pointing to this load balancer. So if I'll access CRM, my request will go to this load balancer first, and then load balancer will send my traffic to this underlying EC2. That is the flow. Okay. If I create another record, let's say this time education, something like that, and again there's a different record. Let's say again this is okay. Another record is very kind of new, which is something called alias record, which is AWS own sort of records. It is very easy sometimes. So what happened that now you can still go for the CNAME, but let's say if you just enable this alias, then very easily you can simply point to AWS services. Let's say applications load balance. Only you need to choose the Mumbai, and then automatically the load balancer will come up. The same way you can do by CNAME, but alias means it will only show AWS available services, so that it will be easier for cloud guy to point. They don't need to choose all of the CNAMEs. They simply choose the alias, and then if somebody type edu.this, their request will go to the application load balancer, and then that's how they can create the records. The same thing like CNAME, but little different or easier. Here, these are different routing policy. One is simple, weighted, geolocation, latency, etc., etc. So, so far, whatever we have learned, which is simple routing. Weighted means you can make a weightage, okay, between two servers. So let's say what you can do, let's say edu batch, edu version 1. Now let's say edu 1 value. Let's say you put 100, and I'll show you first the concept. Let me show you. Let's say this is the options. You have got two servers. This is a very stable version. This is you have just published. Okay, new version. This is a kind of little A and B test. So what you can do that if somebody type edu, you can mention my 150% load will go to this version 1, and rest, or maybe if I just put not 150, let's say if I go, let's say 90% load will go to this server, this version, and rest 10% will go to this server for a functional test, or make sure that these latest things are working or not. So if you want to do a kind of weightage, if you can assign some the weightage value in these two nodes, So the ADU load, the total load will get distributed across two nodes so that my 90% load will be there always, my 10% will be there. So that is something concept called the weightage. Sometimes it is useful for some testing, etc. I don't know. I've seen nothing to comment anybody. So I've seen the Route 50 sessions. People just completes, or even I have seen many times, but it takes hours and hours to discuss. So that is very important, and one of the very important concepts that you should know from the architect. So probably that's why only one topic we are discussing for last 45 minutes, and it will take another half an hour and more. See,
But handling of this Route 50, won't it be like for the network administrator more?
yeah. Network and system administrator is not your job. I mean,
Okay.
not your understanding. You should know.
Okay.
It's a cloud engineer, network administrator, system admin. They will do. But you are the master, right? You are the boss. So if people may approach you, then you should know.
Yeah. No, it often happens like for customer calls, we do get into calls, right? And in that,
Ah.
we talk about networking issues, DNS server names. So obviously, we don't understand anything.
Hmm.
So, yeah, this helps.
Now you understand a bit.
Yeah, this should help. Correct.
Yes. So yeah. So now what happens that here also there's okay. That is the weightage. Okay, weightage we have discussed. That is another policy. The most important policy. Let's discuss on that failover. And this is a very important. Why? I'll tell you. So what is failover? So failover is a part of disaster recovery planning. Okay. So let me draw something. Okay. Um, let's say that is the situations. By the way, Route 50 is a global service. Okay, it is not mapped to any region, anything. Why? I'm just showing you. So Route 53, this there, and now let's say you have one region, Mumbai, AWS region. You have got another region called Hyderabad, which I did for an example. Here, in Mumbai, you have got all of the applications, load balancer, ELB, whatever you have. Then you have the full-fledged things are running, application, databases. Let's say so applications. Databases, something like that. There's a single tier architecture at this stage. Yeah, same thing you have here. Copy कर लेता हूँ पर easy हो जाता है. Okay. So both this is the kind of disaster recovery. The same applications also here running. The same application here running. So in case Mumbai goes down, my intention, the whole objective, the Hyderabad should be a failover locations. Correct. So Route 53 communicates both of the load balancer. Let's say this is the AWS.com. Right. They have got the millions of customers. So they only know AWS.com. AWS and Amazon.com. Okay. So this is your primary site, the very important concept. Okay. That's why I wanted to everybody there, but okay, no problem. Simple is not there. Secondary region. This is my primary, this is my secondary. So this is the secondary. Primary is active right now. So and this is not active. I mean, this is there, but it's okay. So now what happened? The moment Amazon.com in the Route 53, Route 53 always route the traffic to my primary region, and from there the applications is actually loading from this side, the primary. Okay, and all of a sudden, that particular Mumbai region goes down. Okay, we'll discuss all of the replication when we'll discuss the actual disaster recovery class, not now. So just assume that there's a replication at database level application replications is continuous going on, no problem. Okay, for assumptions. But now let's say if this goes down, so that my secondary will become my primary. So Route 53 then it will not send any traffic here. So far it is sending traffic, but now it checks, it has own health check process, and it detects, okay, if there's a no such request response are coming from here, I consider that my entire primary region goes down. So I will start sending the traffic to this LB or secondary region, and it's kind of automatic, right? So that is a perfect disaster recovery planning that you need to do whether you have a multi-region architecture. It's a concept called what? Multi-region. So far we discussed multi-AZ, but now we have discussed multi-region, which is a real disaster recovery. If the entire Mumbai goes down, God forbid, tsunami आ गया, कोई भी कुछ हो गया, तो your Hyderabad will be operational or active as a primary. So this Route 53 plays a significant role for such kind of failover mechanism. So that is something now we are going to discuss. And there's a record that you have to create called failover records, so that it will understand that when your primary is down, your secondary will be primary. Make sense? The architecture wise makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let's see. So this is about the failover. So what you need to do in this alias, let's say this is your main domain, test something, and alias. And here, this is my primary load balancer, for example only. And you need to create a record type, it's called failover record type, okay, as a primary. So you have to tell, okay, this is my primary and this is my secondary. So one is your Mumbai region load balancer, and second, you have to create the Hyderabad region load balance. This is something exactly I'm going to do right now. But for that matter, you need to create another ID, which is called health check ID, which doesn't exist here. So what we have to do, need to go back. And here there's another option called health checks. So I have to create the health checks. Barber, okay. Okay, health checks. Create a health check. Give it a name, right? Whatever, my health. Here you need to define your domain name or your IP addresses, whatever you, okay. Maybe domain name, it is nice. And my domain name is, let's say, or let's say, Amazon.com. That's okay. This is not advanced configurations, not part of this. So now I have created a health checks. That means what I've just done, my Route 53 is always, checks my load balancer. Hey guys, how are you? Hey, Mr. Load Balancer. Hey, my friend, how are you? So this continuous health checks Route 53 and LB does B2B. Okay. So in case the entire region goes on, definitely load balance will not send any traffic to Route 53. So that is the purpose of these health checks. So now if I just go back to hosted zones and create the record set, and what happened? Okay, sorry. The this one. And let's say what anything website. So now I have to factor this as my primary. Again, let's say this is my primary, and my policy would be failover, primary, and health checks. This one, create record. Just let's say, just give it a name like primary, my one. What's one? Just give it a record ID. Create records. So this is my first record I have created. Website. Second record, you understand now. I have to create for the second region load balancer. For me, actually, I don't have any Hyderabad, but let's consider the second region in Hyderabad. You understand it shouldn't be same, right? And here it is also the failover, and failover record type is now secondary health checks. And then, so this is optional, right? Not a problem. I think I don't need now because for primary it is already there. This two. So now I'm done. So what happens that this primary, it is my primary Mumbai load balancer. In case no response is coming from the load balancer, immediately the Route 53 will send the traffic to secondary load balancer. Understand? Clear?
Yes, sir.
You can do that. If I'll ask you to do in the boot camp next time.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Let's take a break. I need to have a glass of water, and then we'll discuss some of the other areas of the Route 53. Mostly we have done in Route 53 from the architect perspective, but a couple of things there more. Okay, let's take a quick break. All right. I think we're also back.
Yeah.
All right.
Sir, one doubt I have.
Yes.
Why
Good
we have made this much of record, means a different type of records?
point.
Why we have made this much of record? It's a different.
So like,
Failover is okay.
yeah, I think for a different example. So let's say your company, you have a lot of different applications, right? Let's say CRM applications, HR applications, main website. So these are the applications you cannot put in the separate same server, right? You need to have a different EC2 instances.
Okay.
सब जाके तो एक ही सर्वर में आप डाल नहीं पाओगे ना, मतलब अलग अलग आपका मॉड्यूल है, अलग अलग एप्लीकेशन है, सो यू नीड टू प्रोवाइड, यू नीड टू डिप्लॉय इन द डिफरेंट EC2.
So then all have different IPs also.
Yes, yes, different IP हो सकता है, different load balancer if you have maybe. Okay, something like that. Let's say ये हो गया आपका, मान लो this is something, if I just go and let me draw here only. So let's say this is your one of the application called CRM. This is the EC2 instances. इसका IP something, let's say something this one. So if somebody would like to access this, then they have to they have to reach this server using this particular DNS, right? Let's CRM
Oh,
dot tester local, so that this particular record will help to land up on this load balancer. Let's say you have got the two servers, so this is the load balancer. There's another set of applications you have for HR, and HR के लिए भी if you have the same kind of infrastructure, and then they should come to these directions using this second record.
okay.
For this one is for your disaster recovery purpose.
Second one is for disaster recovery only, na? First
Correct.
one is the main.
Yes, this one is the second one is the second disaster recovery. Correct.
Yeah.
First one is your main. Correct.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So let's learn some other few routing policy. Geolocations क्या हो सकता है? Any idea what is geolocations? These days is a very popular. Okay, no. So geolocations, this is something. Let's say if I type Microsoft, what happened? Let's say I'm from India, Microsoft.com. What is this? .in is India. So it automatically detects my locations and routes the traffic to Microsoft India website, right? And let's say if somebody will try to access from US, definitely their request will go to Microsoft.com. Or somebody of South Africa or UK, their request will go to the respective country server. That means big corporations, they have a different geographical presence, the global MNCs that we call. And global MNC, they have a different, servers where they have host. So this is, let's say, India, or let's say this for UK. This for, let's say, India. This for Australia. This is something, maybe some different, or let's say these three only. So if the same Microsoft.com, if somebody from US, if they would like to access their, the same Microsoft.com, so this particular website is typically baked, or typically, what should I say, more aligned to, UK locations. So their request will go to automatically this. If somebody from Asia Pacific would like to access Microsoft, probably their request will go to India websites. Somebody from here, Australia, nearest to Australia. So that means it detects the locations of the request and then their request will go to the respective, server. So that is more about the country specific identity. Okay, language हो सकता है, their cultural differences हो सकता है, you understand that. So if you'd like to build this kind of website, so that what you need to select the routing policy and simply choose the locations like Africa, Asia, Europe, and that's how you can do. And also you can you can block. Let's say we don't want any request from, for an example only, okay, nothing any region or any country biasness from Pakistan. So all you can do, let's say in the geolocations, you can, the first of all, if you don't mention anything, then all of the requests will get blocked. Let's say you can add, this is for Microsoft, this is for India locations, okay, Asia. So all of the requests are coming from Asia, or you can specifically put it on the India. So all of the Asian identity will land up on this particular locations, India. Anybody from let's say from Australia, their EC2 server is, or maybe load balance or whatever you understand, to Australia server. Okay. So that's why, that's how. Two. So except, apart from this Australia and Asia, if anybody would like to access Microsoft, their request will fail, very important, unless until you define any common, because for each and every country, you cannot have those many of servers, right? It's a lot of problems. So let's say anybody apart from the Asia and Australia, all of their request can go to the default location, which is 56.3.9. So even from Pakistan or Afghanistan or somebody, their request will land up on that. If you don't mention the default, let's say you just put it this way, only these two identity, the Australia and India, all of the requests, if somebody would like to access MS, Microsoft Bash and whatever, their request will get blocked. So Route 53, another way of blocking any country request. So there are two ways that you can block any particular country blocking. One is WAF, that we'll learn, Web Access Firewall, maybe next class. And another is the Route 53. There are two ways that you can block any, particular request from any specific country. Geo blocking, okay, and that can be done through the geolocations.
So from this, we can't log for any specific, as you said.
Huh? What?
इसके थ्रू किसी स्पेसिफिक कंट्री को तो ब्लॉक नहीं कर सकते ना सर?
हाँ, कर सकते हैं, मतलब लेट्स से ऐसा कर सकते हैं, मान लो कि ये तो डिफॉल्ट हो गया, लेट्स से geolocation, everything will go to this, but now ऐसा कर सकते कि specifically you cannot do, मतलब इसके लिए आपको थोड़ा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा, बट हाँ, जियो लोकेशन के द्वारा, आई मीन नाउ यू कैन चूज समथिंग दैट all of the request, if out of this, let's say this India and Australia, if anybody will come, if you don't mention any default, okay, if you don't mention any default, then their request will get denied. So that means ऐसा करके अगर छोड़ दोगे एंड ये भी आपके पास नहीं है, लेट्स से डिफॉल्ट वाला आपके पास नहीं है, जो मैं अभी अभी किया, कहाँ गया, नहीं किया ना, तो ऐसा सिचुएशन में अगर मैं छोड़ दूं, then apart from Asia and Australia, anybody will try to access Microsoft, then their request will get denied, because मैं इसके अलावा कोई तो डिफॉल्ट ऑप्शंस नहीं डाला यहाँ पर, तो डिफॉल्ट
वही
आपको
बोल
चाहिए।
सर, मतलब ये तो फिर सारे कंट्रीज हो गए ना,
हाँ
अदर देन दिस।
हाँ, थोड़ा मेहनत ना, ये सारी कंट्री नहीं होगा, ये ओनली कमिंग फ्रॉम दी एशिया पैसिफिक एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया। इफ somebody is
ओके।
coming from UK, so their location is not matching in India, Australia, because they are not from India or Australia region. So UK के लिए तो कोई सर्वर ही है नहीं, कोई डिफॉल्ट भी नहीं
हम्म।
डाल, then they will be blocked.
ओके। ओके।
Okay. Now there is another routing policy which is called latency. That is something only we'll discuss today and then we'll wrap up. Latency means the route 53 is very smart and it detects like from which country, which is nearer locations. Let's say if somebody, again, you have a globe for an example, okay, and you have a different country, different places across. So if somebody from here would like to access website, and you have, let's say you have got multiple servers, the same website. So if somebody will try to access, Route 53 will check that the latency, what is latency? So it is a little far away, right? For this guy, but it is a little nearer. So their request will always go to this server. If somebody from these locations will try to access the same site, so again, this server is a little far. Instead, these are little near, so their request will go to this server automatically. So that is something concept called the latency mapping, a latency routing policy by which you can do, faster land on the particular website. Apart from that, there's a lot I'll not discuss. I mean, there's a geo proximity, exact latitude and longitude. There's a multi-value. You can put a lot of multiple value, multiple value 1 2 3 कर करके तो थोड़ा राउंड रबिन हो जाएगा, 1 2 3 4 करके ऐसा आप कर सकते हो. I mean, these are not I'm not saying very popular, but for the gaming company, probably they will get benefited. We have not explored yet. बट या ऐसा करके हम मल्टीपल वैल्यू ऐड कर सकते हो फॉर मल्टी वैल्यू आंसर. फॉर राउट 53 प्राइसिंग मैं थोड़ा दिखा दूं. If I go to pricing calculator, simply type route 53. So how many hosted zone you create, that is something your call. If you create only one hosted zone and महीने में 1 million standard queries है, and if you don't have any latency based or geo DNS query, then it's only 90 cents per month. Very very low price. Even $1 भी नहीं है. So very very, I mean, the route 50 is very very cost effective solutions. But for your case, please delete once you are done. Okay. And the last 5 minutes, I'll discuss about the traffic policies. The traffic policies, it is a kind of whiteboard. You can just drag and drop and automatically create the policies. Let's say create traffic policy test. And you can simply choose the DNS, and then let's say it will connect to your लोड बैलेंसर. सो इधर से भी हो सकता है, मतलब तुरंत, मतलब ये आप ड्रैग एंड ड्रॉप करके ये सब कर सकते हो बेसिकली. लेट्स से इफ यू गो टू टाइप दिस मुंबई एंड लोड बैलेंसर, एंड देन ये आपका कनेक्ट हो गया. एंड देन लेट्स से इधर आपको थोड़ा फेल ओवर भी करना है, वी कैन जस्ट क्रिएट फेल ओवर. So then one is going to Mumbai load balancer, secondary will go to the uh, wait, एक minute. second will go to Hyderabad. मेरे पास है नहीं again, और let's say second वाला जो था, बार बार ये क्यों आ रहा है? तो ऑटोमेटिकली इट्स गेटिंग क्रिएटेड, एंड यस आपके लिए इसके लिए हेल्थ चेक भी बनाना पड़ेगा, सो दैट्स समथिंग, बट नाउ इफ यू जस्ट क्रिएट द पॉलिसी, व्हाट हैपन दैट the policy will get created automatically, so that it will be easier for you. But yeah, I mean, this is also nice if you have very complex different policies, but that is another way of creating the policy, drag and drop. So I think that's all. This will come under professionals exam, professional certification resolver. Basically, I can discuss only 2 minutes. Inbound and outbound means if you have, let's say resolver. If I just put Route 53 resolver, just a picture देख लेना. Image Route 53 resolver. So Route 53 resolver means if you have the on-premises setup and you have the DNS on-premises, so that you need that all of your queries will go through your local DNS, okay, and you are not going to use your DNS, not about the GoDaddy, it's typically the DNS server at the on-premises. So this resolver will do this for you. So kind of back and forth, so that all of the DNS query actually is getting resolved in your on-premises, and now it is coming to AWS using this Route 53 resolver. So Route 53 resolver, it is the service. Route 53 resolver is a core component of Amazon domain systems, specializing in providing DNS resolution within Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, extending that resolution on-premise network. So if it comes in your exam, this specific line, then your answer will be Route 53 resolver. It's a very big, again, it's a very complex topic, but I'll not choke your brain right now. It's already too much for you to absorb for today. Any final questions so that we can wrap up? I thought that there's a single sign-on that we'll discuss and also Active Directory, but it would be again little overwhelming for you. But you decide. I'm still here 8:30. If you think that you can, I can. Should we wrap up, or we can continue for that? Before that, wrap up. Okay. So before that, please delete the hosted zone. A little bit pause.
One more thing, sir. You uploaded the class 22 part T in
20
LMS.
LMS. Don't make me click it out.
20, that is 6 minutes CDN video only.
184. 174.
174. 22. This one part T.
Part two actually is a little different. So ये ना हुआ नहीं,
Okay, okay.
थोड़ा बहुत किया था, मतलब ये एक Zoom में प्रॉब्लम हुआ था तो
ओके ओके। और सर डायरेक्ट कनेक्ट गेटवे का जो टॉपिक है वो अब बाकी रह गया था।
ओ नहीं हुआ ना, डायरेक्ट कनेक्ट का था। ओके,
गेट डायरेक्ट कनेक्ट हुआ था, गेटवे नहीं हुआ था। वो आपने बोला था कि नेक्स्ट क्लास में करेंगे।
ठीक है, थोड़ा याद कर देना नेक्स्ट क्लास में फिर से।
हाँ ओके ओके,
वेरी गुड, ऑलराइट, थैंक यू विश्वजीत, थैंक यू अभय, बाय।
थैंक यू।
Thank you.